Crimson Eagles are a Blood Angels successor chapter founded in the 39th millennium to provide a standing force and bolster a recently reclaimed area of Imperial territory. They are currently slightly under strength and will take at least a decade to fully recover, barring further losses. In the years that followed, they soon developed a reputation both for their indomitable spirit and their willingness to do whatever it took to get the job done. This hasn't always made them many friends amongst the Imperium's institutions, but none can doubt their devotion to the Emperor or the cause of mankind itself. Compared to other Blood Angel successors, they focus less on the sacrifice of Sanguinius and more on what Sanguinius sacrificed himself for. Each Crimson Eagle is expected to be willing to make that same choice at moment's notice, and they frequently have. The Crimson Eagle homeworld was originally settled in the far distant past, possibly by a rogue trader dynasty in the days before the Horus Heresy, but likely much later than that. What is clear is that it lost contact with the Imperium at some point. The ruins that the original population left show signs of either having maintained the technological level of the Golden Age, or re-attaining it briefly before they too fell to internal strife. By the time of rediscovery, its population had regressed to a feudal, largely medieval state, with warring kingdoms and widespread injustice. The people fight with swords and bows, living in the simple wood and stone structures, with only a few powerful warlords holding sway over the occasional technological treasure to further entrench their status and power. The greater cities are usually built over the top and around the towering Gothic spires of those who went before, and the wastelands between the cities are occasionally broken by strange constructions and dangerous creatures that now inhabit them. Far removed from the turmoil and strife of the world below, the Crimson Eagles reside in a vast towering fortress built into the side of a mountain. They issue no edicts, lay down no laws, but through folklore, the people of Naraka have come to view them as the fearsome lords of their world. For the most part, the Crimson Eagles hold themselves separate from the bloody strife of their world. However, they have inherited their progenitors' extended lifespan, and so they have developed a tradition of periodically going out into the world to walk amongst its people. Foregoing the majority of the technological marvels that the Space Marines have access to, they walk the world with only the most basic of gear, testing themselves against the dangers that the world and her people provide. Many such pilgrimages double as recruiting drives, with the Crimson Eagle returning with several allies who have proven their worth during their journeys. This serves the majority of Crimson Eagle's recruitment needs, but when they need to bolster their numbers quickly, they have been known to set up tournaments of martial skill or set up grand endeavours to draw larger numbers of hopefuls. The Crimson Eagles are widely known to look down upon the Sisters of Battle. The specifics of this are not widely known outside the chapter itself, however. To the Crimson Eagles, the first and most important reason is that they believe the Sisters to be a poor mockery of the Space Marines themselves, created by lesser men to avoid bureaucracy forbidding the ecclesiarchy from maintaining men under arms. Second to this, the idea of an all-female fighting force offends the Crimson Eagles, but again, not for the obvious reasons, as they routinely recruit females into their number. Although this practice is rare amongst Space Marine chapters, they hold that nowhere in the Codex Astartes is it ruled out, and that the procedures that transform male hopefuls work just as well on females. They believe that a unified force such as theirs reflects the true intentions of the Emperor himself, but they don't tend to draw attention to that fact. The third and most trivial reason is based on aesthetics. Battle Sisters of the Crimson Eagles wear the same armour as their brothers, and are very vocal about the more shapely designs of the Adeptus Sororitas, pointing out that the various unnecessary curves and bumps merely serve to weaken the armour and make them look, in their eyes, silly. Standing as tall as any other Space Marine in full armour, the female warriors of the Crimson Eagles are indistinguishable from their fellow Marines and fiercely proud of it. In the years following the Crimson Eagles' founding and establishment on Naraka, they were plunged into a prolonged conflict with an Orc war that hit their home system. The conflict began attracting smaller Orc war bands, and the Crimson Eagles took terrible losses, including their Master of Sanctity and Chief Apothecary. The Blood Angels chapter provided assistance by seconding a number of individuals to fill in missing important roles. Chaplain Zale, who became the new Master of Sanctity in particular, became beloved of the chapter for his dedication to the Crimson Eagles despite being an outsider, as well as his care for those members of the Crimson Eagles who succumbed to the Black Rage during the conflict. The climactic battle of the conflict took place when the Master of Sanctity led a particularly large death company, backed up by the Death Corps of Kree, who had fought valiantly alongside the Eagles for much of the campaign, in a surgical strike on the war boss of the war. Striking at its heart right where it was the strongest rather than at a weak point was a clear suicide mission, but it took the Orcs completely by surprise, and the war's momentum was crushed. Of the couple of hundred strong Death Company, only a few were left alive at the end of the battle, and of those, only Zael did not eventually succumb to his wounds. With the aid of the Death Corps of Krieg, the war was eventually dispersed. Although the system is periodically subject to Orcish incursions, in the years since, the Death Corps have become frequent allies of the Crimson Eagles due to their sometimes similar values and frequent history of working together. Such was the success of Zael's repeated strikes on the Orcs in the campaign that he is still remembered by the Greenskins to this day. It is perhaps due to this infamy that the Crimson Eagles have found such determined enemies in the Breakers of the Coronis Expanse.